Good morning, our customers, staff, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone on this call. Apologies that we are beginning a few minutes late, but take this opportunity to welcome you all. My name is Mary Kiilu, General Insurance Marketing Department. Just to tell you a few rules on our webinar today. We will maintain your microphones mute as in order to have some to avoid some background noises, and so that we are able to hear the speakers clearly. And so what we advise is, if you have any question or comments, you can go to the chat box. On your screen there's a chat box there, and you can type in your question or your comments, and we will address them at the end of our talk. So without much ado, allow me to welcome our General Manager, Health Business, to progress this discussion. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary Kiilu. That's our marketing manager for setting this session up. Allow me to first welcome you guys to Britam General. This is our first webinar this year. So I believe it will be in order for me to wish all of you a happy new year. I hope it's not very late. They say until 31st of January, we can wish each other happy new year. So for all of you joining us this morning, happy new year, and welcome to Britam's webinar. Today we want to talk about the new normal, getting back to the workplace. Others call it rebooting. On 12th of March, COVID was first discovered in Kenya. And after that, it followed with a lockdown where things drastically changed. Nobody had envisioned that. Kids stopped going to school. Majority of us started working from home. And it was a very challenging time for most of us. But as we started 2021, we have seen kids are going back to school. Most companies are reopening. But then there is something that we need to talk about in terms of the psychological effect of this change. Remember the drastic change that came in from March with the lockdown, and now us trying to go back to the normal, the way we used to live before the pandemic. So without further ado, I'll welcome our CEO, that is Mr. Jackson Deuri, to just give us opening remarks before we invite the person going to talk to us today, Daktari. Thank you. Karibu sana, Jackson.
Thank you very much, David and Mary. It's really a pleasure to host you on this webinar. A very warm welcome to our visitors, our partners, our customers, and even staff who are on the call. It's indeed a blessing for us to be able to host you. I think more than any other year, 2020 showed us how important health is. And it taught me personally not to take anything for granted. And maybe as we begin this webinar, I would like to sort of share some of the things that I've seen happen. Of course, today is not my day. We do have Daktari, Dr. Odegi, to speak to us. But I thought I will share as a layman, what have I seen? As a person running a business, as a person, living my life, what have I seen? I never dreamed of a day when I would miss traffic. But it was quite amazing that normally in other years, if I was coming to the office or going home and got stuck in traffic, I would really feel stressed. But when January 2021 came and suddenly there was traffic, I saw it as an indicator of hope. I saw it as an indicator that maybe we, as a country, are starting to get back to what feeds us, what feeds our families. So to me, it's really the small things that we are learning to appreciate. I learned to appreciate good health, and I learned to live in a different way than we normally did. So for most of 2020, as Britam, we are working both from the office and also remotely. And I'm sure those of you who are parents who are on the call, we did experience having to, work from home with our children. Some of whom were attending online classes, and others who are maybe not attending school, and having to balance that with work. And to me, the fact that we made it through 2020 and we're in 2021 speaks to the resilience that we have as a people, as a nation. And yes, the pandemic is not yet over, but there are lessons that we've learned that overall make us better human beings. So I'd like to spend a few minutes to talk about then how are we as Britam then responding to some of the changes that we've seen in the market. The first thing I have to say is that we've had a hard look at our health insurance coverage. We, given some of the challenges we've seen as risk advisors, we've had to roll out additional solutions for our customers that help them respond to the pandemic. We continue to offer health solutions to all customer segments, from corporates to SMEs and to individuals. But specifically for individuals, we saw the need for us to step in and offer solutions that address the current pandemic. And one of the things I'm pleased and extremely proud of is that we did get regulatory approval in January to roll out a COVID insurance cover, a standalone cover. And that cover is available to all our customers who would like to buy it, whether you are currently insured by us or not. We do have a very simple COVID cover that pays on hospitalization due to COVID. So I would encourage you to get in touch with your financial advisor, whether it's your broker or your or directly in contact with us or your agent to understand more about that COVID cover. Covers anything, and it's very affordable, from as little as 1,500 shillings. You can actually get that cover. The second area we looked at was our SME and retail offering, which is what we call Britam Milele cover. If you remember 2 years ago when we launched this cover, we said there's a lifetime cover. And as long as you join before 75 years of 70 years of age, then you could renew it for life. So what we've done is we've enhanced our Milele cover. We've raised the joining age now to 75 years. So anyone from 18 years of age to 75 can join it. We've also looked at how do we make it more attractive and how do we make it more available to most of our customer segments. So some of the things we've done with our Milele cover are: one, we now have options for both inpatient and outpatient. We have options that fit our customers' pockets, and the choice of health facilities that you can get treatment in is determined by what you're willing to or what you're able to afford to spend. And the reason we did that is recognizing that the health needs transcends all segments of our society. The other very interesting options we built around our Milele cover. As I've always said, it's not just a medical cover, but it's actually a health solution. And a health solution, we believe strongly, should start when you're healthy. So we continue to have the lifestyle management options around it. So things like nutrition advice, stress management. As your health partners, we'll continue to hold even webinars like the one you're having today, because that's how we see it. Or we see ourselves, partnering with our society to address the health issues that we continue to face as a people. The second thing is we continue to have options for early diagnosis, which is around annual medical checkup for the members. And then coming to the actual treatment, depending on the choice, because we have what we call Milele Premier, Milele Advantage, which is original Milele, and Milele Essential. You have a cross-section of local and overseas health facilities that are available. But more exciting part of it is that we now have incorporated telemedicine into our Milele offering. What does that mean for you? It means that last year, I remember one of the challenges, and I'm sure a number of you would have seen it in the media, people struggled with was having to go to hospital and fearing going to an area where they'll get exposed to COVID. So what we've done for our customers is, rather than you have to go to hospital when you're unwell or when your loved ones are unwell, is actually availed the option through a phone number where you just send an SMS where you can actually send an SMS and a doctor calls you back and does diagnosis. And unless you need hospitalization, we are able to complement that with drugs delivery right to your home. What that means is that wherever you are, whether at home or in the office, you do not have to miss healthcare because you are afraid to go to health facilities. So to us, that's a very good. It's a very good opportunity for our customers to safely be able to navigate this pandemic. Of course, we continue to have a palliative care, which is what we call home nursing at the end of that of that cover. So I'd like to pause there. Today wasn't my day, but Lily, I thought it was fair for me to talk about how we are dealing with pandemic, how we coming in to support our customers, even as I invite our main speaker for the day. So it's my pleasure to invite you, Daktari, talk to us about how do we navigate the workplace in this new environment. And on a lighter note, I'll be very interested to hear your perspective of what is this workplace, because traditionally the workplace was the office. What does it mean now? What is this new normal?
Okay.
Thanks, Daktari.
Thank you so much, Jackson Theory, the CEO. Thank you so much, David and Mary, for having given us a chance again to partner with you to offer psychosocial support, especially to the wider public. My name's John Odegi. I'm a counseling psychologist consulting for MediHub. And today, just like Jackson shared, we're here just to explore with you where are you during this pandemic? Like, what are the things, what are the concerns on the family front, on the work front, or even personally? What are we struggling with, especially during this pandemic? So you'll find that there's that catchphrase where people have been sharing that there's a new normal. But again, psychologically speaking, you'll find that the only thing new about the normal is the awareness we all now have of how fragile most companies, business models, and even personal relationships are. And you find that most of them have failed the stress test. So basically, you might want to ask yourself, what are the things that you are struggling with? You'll find that the pandemic has come to illuminate the things that we have neglected. We have the things like family, things like relationships, and things like even investments. Even just like I'd shared, I had that Mr. Theory sharing about investments. But again, those are the things that we had neglected before. So there are learning moments. We can take last year as a learning moment, and even this year, what are the things that we really look forward to do differently, especially even as the year begins. Yes, there are some people who have maybe had some New Year resolutions, but question is, even as we look forward to have those resolutions, has anything changed in the resolutions that we had in the past? What are we doing differently in the here and the now to make sure that we don't have like that business as usual? We don't have that comfort zone that we used to have even before the pandemic. So you might want to ask yourself, where am I? Where am I during this COVID-19? Are you in the fear zone? Are you in the learning zone? Or are you in the growing zone? In the fear zone, initially, this is where we used to panic buy. We easily got annoyed. We started to stock toilet paper, food, medicine, and things that we didn't even need. On the learning zone, you started to release control. You stopped consuming what doesn't make you feel good, even news about the pandemic, and you started to recognize that we are all trying to do our best to face these difficult moments. On the growing zone, you might want to ask yourself, are you in the you think about others and how to help them, you find purpose, you're grateful, and you start living in the present. Something that is really giving us a lot of stress is the fear of the unknown. And the fear of the unknown is just a pile of self-limiting beliefs based on what we think may happen and not what is our reality. Fear of the unknown also is made up of many thoughts and beliefs that result from negative experiences. It is also based on our perception of what might happen in the future. The future has not happened yet. So we need to learn to start living in the present. So to confront those fears of the unknown, you might want to ask yourself 3 basic questions. What evidence is there that supports my fear of the unknown? 2 is, what are the 3 examples where I have successfully coped with uncertainty? And 3 is, what evidence is there that I will fail and my fear of the unknown will be right? So those are just tips on just how to confront your fear of the unknown. So you might want to ask yourself, in the here and the now, where are you during this pandemic? Are you still in the fear zone? Are you in the learning zone? Or are you in the growing zone? And also in the growing zone, you might also want to ask yourself, what are you doing to equip yourself with skills that can be needed, especially during this pandemic? So even to emerge stronger from this COVID-19 crisis, as an individual, you should start reskilling yourself now. You might want to ask yourself, what skill do I have versus what skill will be relevant or will be needed post-corona? Do I have that skill? So those are the questions you need to challenge yourself with, even as we start the new year. So how do I know whether or not a skill will be relevant? It means that you need to understand where the industry is headed, or how and what is changing in your market environment. So those are questions that will bring you to the awareness. What are you doing in the here and the now to make sure that you reskill yourself with relevant skills that will be needed in the market, especially in the here and the now, and also in the future. So you find that now the fear of the unknown brings us stress. And you might want to ask yourself, what is stress? So stress is just a part of our everyday life that is the result of major changes we must adapt to. The sources of stress could be triggered from the environment, like this pandemic, bad weather conditions, traffic. On the social side, work can also give you stress. You can imagine you're spending 8 good hours in a place that is giving you stress. School can also give you stress, especially when you're having exams. And friends can also give you stress. You can imagine even as adults, we are still struggling with peer pressure. Initially, we thought that peer pressure is only for children, but even as adults, we are struggling with peer pressure. We are in groups who even influence how we spend our finances, and you find that we are even living beyond our means. And also, finances can also give you stress. So you might want to ask yourself, is it what you're earning that is giving you stress, or is just how you manage your personal finances? You can imagine right now, organizations are retrenching, organizations are laying off employees, but again, you might find even some of those employees who have been laid off, some are really thriving well, and you might want to ask yourself, what is it that they're doing differently from the people who are complaining that they've been laid off and there's nothing that they can do about it? Always remember that, yes, you can be given employment, but how you sustain that employment, how and what you do with your finances, that is a personal choice that you have to make, so that even if in the eventuality that you lose that job, and again, losing a job is something that can also be beyond your control. It will make sure that you have that continuity. You can make sure that you'll have that, you can still manage yourself even after losing that job. On the physiological side, we have body changes, inadequate sleep, illness, and even stigma. On the thought side, you might want to ask yourself, what are your interpretations of what is happening to you? What is your interpretations of the stressors that are at your workplace? What is your interpretation of the stress that you're having in your relationship or even in your marriage? So again, you might find that it's not what is happening to us. It's what we are busy telling ourselves, and the negative thoughts that we have of what is happening to us, that is giving us and can be also a main source of stress. So reactions to stress. There are ways that people react to stress. Everyone reacts differently to stressful situations. How you respond to the outbreak can depend on your background, the things that make you different from other people, and even the community that you live in. So people who may respond strongly to stress of a crisis include people who have undergone or undergoing quarantine. You find older people and people with chronic diseases who are at a higher risk of COVID-19. Children and teens can also be stressed. You can imagine what is happening, especially on the social media or even in the news. You find that children are committing suicide. Children are even murdering their parents. So question is, what is happening with our children? So on the other side, we have even people who are helping with this outbreak, like doctors and even nurses. Healthcare providers are also undergoing and even reacting strongly to stress, and even people with mental illness. So stress during a disease outbreak. Stress during an infectious disease outbreak can include fear and worry about our own health and the health of our loved ones. You can imagine right now, people are fearful of the pandemic. People are fearful of the COVID-19. Right now, I can imagine if you took a public means and maybe you coughed twice or thrice, you can imagine what will be going on in the minds of the other passengers. They'll fear that probably you might be having COVID-19, and that might not be the case. On the other side, we have changes in sleep or eating patterns, difficulty sleeping or even concentrating, worsening of chronic health problems, increase of alcohol, tobacco, or even other drugs. You find that right now, even with the people who have lost their jobs, even with the people who are struggling with trying to make ends meet, are using a lot of alcohol or even abusing other drugs. So there is good stress and bad stress. So good stress helps you stay focused, energetic, and alert by helping you rise to meet challenges. You might have a presentation at work. That can even sharpen your concentration, even while even trying to complete even work projects. On the contrary, unhealthy stress can cause major damage to your health, mood, productivity, relationships, and even quality of life. So you might want to ask yourself in the here and the now, even as part of your self-awareness, is what you're going through, is it good stress or it's unhealthy stress? So how do you respond to stress? You find that there is consuming stress. There are some common external factors of stress. These are stress that comes from the outside to us. Major life changes. Some major life changes could be maybe loss of a loved one. Some major life changes could be even loss of even your job. On the relationship side, we have relationship difficulties. We have financial problems. We have trauma. We have children and family who can also be a source of stress. Major disease outbreaks like this pandemic can also be a source of stress. Stigma. You can imagine if someone spotted and knew your COVID-19 results and knew that you're COVID positive. I can imagine the kind of stigma that you're going to suffer, especially if the public knew about your status, COVID-19 status. So those are the common external factors of stress. On the other side, we have common internal causes of stress. These are stressors that comes from inside us, the things that we are busy telling ourselves. These are feelings of anger, fear and chronic worry, anticipation. There's also negative self-talk. I'm glad right now, even during this pandemic, there are things that you can appreciate about even putting on the masks. I can imagine if you had some self-talk in town, if you're talking to yourself, no one would really even know if you're really talking to yourself because already you're putting on a mask. So it's important for you to have those self-talks, but be careful not to have those negative self-talks. Unrealistic expectations from your marriage or even from your relationships. Perfectionism, especially even at work. Rigid thinking, lack of flexibility, all or nothing attitude. These are stressors that comes within us. So symptoms of stress. On the work side, we have work burnout. You can be aware, especially, these are things that I want to make you aware of, so that when you're at work, you'll know definitely these are signs and symptoms of stress. So on the work side, we have pessimism. This is where you're really complaining a lot about everything. Increase in dissatisfaction, inefficiency at the job. If you're not performing at your place of work, that could be a sign and symptom of stress. Guilt, irritability can also be a sign and symptom of stress, especially at work. On the cognitive side, we have, this has to do with your thinking. We have memory problems. If you're forgetful, you're forgetting your house keys, you're forgetting where you placed even your bag, inability to concentrate at work, poor judgment, seeing only the negative, anxious or racing thoughts, and even constant worrying. Those could be signs and symptoms of stress, especially on the psychological side. On the emotional side, we have moodiness, irritability, or short temper. You can imagine maybe you're at your place of work and your colleague is trying to have a light joke, but you're so irritated with those light jokes. That could be a sign and symptom of stress. Agitation, inability to relax, feeling overwhelmed, sense of loneliness and isolation, especially during this pandemic. You find that there are some people who are suffering loneliness, depression, and even general unhappiness. On the physical side, symptoms of stress could be aches and pains, diarrhea, and constipation. I've seen especially some patients walking to hospitals, getting tests done, but all the results come negative. And you find that this maybe patient is complaining about diarrhea and constipation. This could be a sign and symptom of stress, especially on the physical side. Nausea and dizziness, chest pain and rapid heartbeat could be a sign and symptom of stress. Loss of sex drive, frequent colds. Remember, when you're stressed, that's when even your immune system goes down. And the first thing that catches you is a cold. So when you find yourself having lots of frequent colds, that could also be a sign and symptom of stress on the physical side. On the behavioral side, you might find yourself eating more or less. You might find yourself sleeping too much or too little. You might even find yourself sleeping even during work hours. Isolating yourself from others, procrastination, or even neglecting your responsibility. Using alcohol, cigarettes, and even drugs, and even nervous habits like nail biting. Those are behavioral symptoms of stress. So stress test. To get stress under control, try and find out what is causing you stress. Look for ways to reduce the amount of stress and learn healthy ways to relieve them. So it is always important to identify your source of stress. Don't take your home stress and bring them to work. Don't take your work stress and take them at home. Try and identify your source of stress. Once you're aware of your source of stress, it will be easy for you to deal with the source of your stress. Be aware of what is causing you stress. It's important to start having positive coping skills. So even as I venture on the workplace and the stressors that we get at our place of work, you might want to ask yourself, at times there's so many people who complain about their work. But even when you're about to complain, ask yourself, what can I be grateful for? There's so many people who are jobless outside here. What is that job helping you to achieve, even on the family front and even in your personal goals? So before you start complaining, start mindfulness, start asking yourself, what can you be grateful for? What is that job helping you achieve on the personal front or even in the family front? So I mentioned here to reboot, getting back to the workplace. So remember, right now, there's so many expectations, and you find that even organizations are changing their way of doing business. There are new expectations, especially from our organizations, from our bosses, from our supervisors, and even line managers. But how do you manage yourself? How do you cope positively in the face of those expectations? So I'd like to explore with you some common workplace stressors. Physical discomfort, interpersonal conflict, disorganization, and even multitasking. Yes, I know so many people might be wondering, why did you mention multitasking, and yet I'm able to achieve so much through multitasking even at my place of work? But ask yourself, while you're multitasking, maybe handling 5 or even 10 items at your place of work, what is the quality of your output when you're multitasking? So those are the things that I need to explore with you in the here and the now, and especially when it comes to common workplace stressors. So these are the tips, especially on how to manage yourself, especially now as we begin the new year. So a great way to make a major reduction in your stress is to learn how to handle stress at your work by prioritizing and organizing. So here's how to do it. Clarify your goals. Before you can prioritize, you have to set clear objectives. Make time to sit with your manager and clarify your goals. Be sure that your daily activities can track to one of your set goals. Secondly, prioritize against your goals. Don't set priorities randomly. Use your goals to evaluate the importance of so use your goal. Sorry for that. So use your goal. So don't set priorities randomly. Use your goals to evaluate the importance of every task. At times, we teach staff members to evaluate each task by asking them, is this getting me closer or further away from my goals? If the answer is anything other than closer to, it's not a priority. Focus on two to three things maximally. So there's an old saying, if everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. Focus on the biggest levers. That is the 2 or 3 things each week that will have the biggest impact on your goals. Set timelines. I chose to use this word timelines and not deadlines. When you have timelines, these are things that you've organized for you to achieve. But deadlines, these are things that come abruptly. So as a general rule, if a task doesn't have a timeline, it will get pushed aside to focus on one one that does. Set realistic timelines for everything, and everything will get done. Use your calendar. Plan your calendar well so that you maximize the limited time you have on each and every week. So something else I'd like you to focus on, especially as you start your new year, is forget multitasking. Multitasking was once a fantastic way to maximize one's time and get more done in a day. However, people eventually began to realize that there's a certain negative feeling that comes from splitting your focus, and it doesn't work well for most people. Instead of multitasking, stay on top of your tasks. Something else you need also to explore and also to focus on, even as you try to cope positively at your place of work, is stay away from conflict. Interpersonal conflict takes a toll on your physical and emotional health. Conflict among co-workers can be difficult to escape, so it's a good idea to avoid conflict at work as much as possible. Don't gossip. Don't share too many of your personal opinions about religion, politics, and even your relationships, and steer clear of colorful office humor. I know right now, this year might be a year where maybe people are campaigning. This is not the time to bring your political views at your place of work. When possible, try to avoid people who don't work well with others. If conflict finds you anyway, make sure you know how to handle it appropriately. So as part of even coping positively when you're stressed at work, emotional diffusing. Write in a journal, talk with friends, family, or even a professional counselor to let your feelings out. It's important for you also to be cautious on the things that you're sharing, even with your friends and family. You might not be happy, especially when you find that whatever you had intimated or whatever you had shared which was personal, is being discussed outside there by a family member or even by a confidant whom you thought was a friend. So if you feel that you've not identified a friend or even a family member who you can share your personal issues, then it's high time for you to identify a professional counselor who's going to help you even keep your matters confidential. Prayer, meditation can also be a part of your emotional diffusing. So start exercising or even exercise more. Exercise can improve the mood even with people with moderate depression. You should aim for a minimum of 30 minutes each and every day. So even as we go along, I know right now business and even organizations have changed the way they work. There are some people who are working from home. Even as we work from home, there are some things that we need to be on the lookout for. So one of them is setting boundaries. So even as you set a corner in your house where you have like a corner office, it's important for you to start setting boundaries. Pick a start and end time and focus in that period of time, and don't allow distractions to deter you from full productivity. This boundary of knowing when to stop is one of the most central and key factors to have success in a work at home world. So it's important for you to set boundaries. And even as part of setting your boundaries, it's important for you to discuss with your family when it's work time and when it's family time. Secondly is also minimize distractions. It goes without saying that minimizing distractions is absolutely paramount. Sometimes loud noises, pets, crying children, curious spouses, and others can easily make a work-home environment hard to maneuver. Communicate to your family that workspace is off limits. I can imagine maybe you're doing a presentation, a work presentation, that where even your senior managers or are also watching, and maybe one of your maybe your spouse comes there and start discussing about family matters there. I don't think that would really look professional. So it's important for you to minimize distractions as much as possible when you're working from home. Know yourself. Working at home is a blessing when you can focus forward effectively. This tip, while it may seem simple, is also vital. What are your tendencies when you are at home? Can you shift your mindset from I am home, I need to relax, to this is the work day and I must focus? Many professionals struggle with this as well. So one good thing to do is to establish your mindset and a routine that preps you for work of the day. So it's also important for you to dress officially, especially when you're at home. So many people are maybe tempted to have those Zoom meetings, those Zoom work meetings, especially in their bedrooms. So many people are tempted even to have those Zoom meetings in their pajamas. That is not professional. It's important for you even to wake up and freshen up and put official clothes so that even psychologically you're prepared for work. But if you're working and you're still in your pajamas, then I think your mind will still tell you that it's still time to relax and you might not take your work seriously. So even as we maneuver ourselves during this pandemic, most of the hardest hit people are parents. So children and teens react in part on what they see from adults around them. So when parents and caregivers deal with COVID-19 calmly and confidently, they can provide the best support for their children. Parents can be more reassuring, especially to children, if they are better prepared. Not all children and teens respond to stress in the same way. So some common changes you might want to watch out for include excessive crying or irritation in younger children, returning to behaviors that are outgrown, for example, even toileting accidents or even bedwetting, excessive crying, excessive worry or sadness, unhealthy eating or sleeping habits, irritability and acting out behaviors in teens, poor school performance or even avoiding school can be a sign and symptom of stress. a difficulty with attention and concentration, avoidance of activities that your child had enjoyed in the past, unexplained headaches or body pain, use of alcohol and drugs. So what can you do as a parent to help your to support your child during this pandemic? Take time to talk with your child or teen about COVID-19 outbreak. Answer questions. Share facts about COVID-19 in a way that your child or teen can understand. I don't think right now it's a time for you as parents to talk about how horrible COVID-19 is. That can bring a lot of excessive worry, especially to your child. Reassure your child or teen that they are safe. Let them know it's okay if they feel upset. Share with them how you deal with your own stress so that they can learn how to cope from you. Limit your family's exposure to news coverage of the event, including social media. Children may misinterpret what they hear and can be frightened about something that they don't understand. Try to keep up with regular routines. Create a schedule for learning activities and relaxing and fun activities. Remember, if you're working from home, it's important for you also to create a schedule for your children so that when you're working, your children are also busy with the schedule that you have given them. Be a role model. Right now, I know the curfew hours start from maybe 10 or 10:30. So even we as men, you find that most men are affected because right now we cannot enjoy ourselves even in our social areas, especially at night, or maybe taking alcohol. We are tempted to take that alcohol and even start consuming it in our homes. But question is, you as a parent, what kind of picture, what kind of role modeling are you creating, especially on the home front when you're taking alcohol or even stumbling down when you're drunk at your home? So it's important for you to be a role model. Take breaks, eat well, and also connect to your family members and friends. So as part of your ABC work stress reduction, A is awareness. Ask yourself, what is causing me stress at work? How do you react when you're stressed at work? B stands for balance. There's a fine line between positive and negative stress. How much can you cope with before it becomes negative at your place of work or even at home? And C is balance, and C is control. What can you do to help yourself combat the negative effects of stress? Question is, if you're stressed at work, is there someone that you can reach out to? Is there a mentor who can really help you, especially navigate your work stress? If your stress is even maybe performance, what is it that your colleagues who are performing well are doing differently? What can you learn from them? So always remember that there's nothing new under the sun. Whatever you're going through, someone else might have gone through that in the past, and they might have even maneuvered successfully with those kind of stressors that you might be dealing with in the here and the now. So thank you so much. Maybe I can leave the floor, especially for Q&A. The floor is yours. Maybe you can ask questions.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for that elaborate talk on
thank you
on how to reboot and also just taking us through how to manage ourselves during the pandemic. I will urge all our viewers to type in their questions so that we can just read through the chat, and also we give Daktari time to. One of the things I picked out, Daktari, from your talk today is for us to timelines and not deadlines. We always rush around because of deadlines, but I think that is one of the key things I might take out from today's session. Once I learn to set deadlines, then I should be able to work around it. And also then realizing that there is good stress and bad stress, that should help me in coping up with my work. Now I'll just go through the chat and read out a few questions that are coming in. And this is Moturi, who's mentioned to work remotely for the last 10 months has been largely productive. Setback may have been the ever-present feeling of missing out the casual chats, the corridor banter, and the spontaneous event, meeting and interacting. So for her, basically, she's just making a comment that she enjoyed working from home, but she missed interacting with colleagues in the office. I don't know what's your take, Daktari, about that lack of social connection, especially as human beings being social beings. So what's your take about that?
Exactly.
Now that we had a break and now we are coming back to work.
Thank you so much, Mr. David, for pointing out that having that observation. And you find that as human beings, we long for connection. We long for that human touch. We long for that. We long for those, even the jokes that we used to have, maybe at our places of work. I think even as people who are working from home, it doesn't mean that if you're working from home, you cannot even once in a while pop up and even just try, even if it's once a week or even twice a week, just go to your place of work and have that human connection, so that even as you're having those, so that even as someone is having those virtual meetings, at least that human touch and human connection is not lost. So we can always create a schedule whereby at least maybe once or twice we make that physical connection at our places of work. We visit the office and even temporarily just to catch up and even share ideas. And again, you find that yes, technology has come to maybe make our life easier, but again, we have that danger of you losing that human connection. So let's always be aware that human connection is still important. Let's purpose to always make or even create schedules where at least we can have that human touch and even human connection in place. Thank you so much, Mr. David, for that observation.
One of the participants has also asked a question, and this one is very interesting. What can be done in terms of multitasking when even your manager expects reports at the same time? He would like you to just give some justification and a few resolutions on how to handle such a scenario.
So, sorry, come again. I'm trying to get. Yeah.
What can be done in terms of multitasking when even your manager expects reports on the same time, different reports probably at the same time? I think here's the stress that is associated with that. How do you then deal with such a scenario?
And I think this is where now I go back to even communication. Always, I normally know that in this world, there's always someone above us. There's a manager, there's a supervisor, there's a line manager, there's a CEO. These are also human beings. I think it's important for us to always communicate our needs and articulate them clearly. If maybe we have so many reports which are needed at the same time, it's important for us always to communicate in advance. Let's not wait until it's a last minute thing for us to start communicating. Let's always project. And I think this is where even clarifying our goals really helps us. So this is where even prioritizing. So when we are prioritizing, we need to also prioritize with our managers in the picture so that they are aware of what we are doing. But again, they're also human beings. If they forget, I think you'll always have that referral point that in as much as maybe you're giving me this, I'm also working on this. So it's important for us to always preempt the tasks that we are having, so that at least our line managers, our supervisors are aware of what we are doing. But in case it slips their mind, it's important for us to always communicate. And if we had communicated earlier, I think that can also act as a referral point or even as a reminder that, yes, you've given me this, but I'm also working on this. So I think communication is very important. I don't think we should take, and again, something that also really affects our work, and this is where I also there's what you call self-sabotage. This is where now you've set your goals, but there are the things that you do that normally sabotage those goals. And one of them is communication. Instead of articulating our needs clearly, even to our line managers, we take those challenges as gossip. So question is, how will gossip help us? So let's articulate our needs and also preempt the things that we see can be a challenge in the future. So communication is key.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daktari, on the element of communication. I just want, you know, before the pandemic, one of the key things that we used to do in the office, you sit in the office and you want to talk to a colleague. So usually you could walk to their desk, you know, and you could ask them anything. If you had, if a report was delaying, you could easily walk to their desk and ask them, hey, Chief, what's up? What's happening with the report, you know? But now, you know, guys are now apart, guys are working from home. So I think those are some of the challenges that then people have experienced. And then there's a comment also here from one of the participants is working from home has many distractions such as children, neighborhood noises, people eating in the house. So basically he's agreeing that setting boundaries sometimes does not work that easy, because looking at the area that some of us probably where you stay, it's difficult for you to demarcate. Yeah, so I think that was just a comment to say that sometimes you may want to set boundaries, and it might not be very easy for you to do that. So there's also yes, go ahead.
Just a comment, David. I think just like I had shared before, the pandemic has come to illuminate the things that we had taken for granted and also the things that we had neglected. And if we cannot create boundaries, especially when it comes to work at home, so it also means that there's some other things, even on the family front, that you cannot create boundaries, especially when it comes to family issues. So that is just a pointer that if you cannot create boundaries in the house, then it means in the other areas and which are touching family and even relationships, then we cannot set boundaries. So it's important for us to be aware, why is it that we cannot create boundaries with the people that we even love? So those are the things that we need to be aware of. Thank you so much, David.
There is one from one comment also from one of our readers, from one of our participants, that is Helen. How do you help a young adult who has lost direction?
Okay, maybe they could have clarified young adults, but just from what I'm getting, I think it's important for us to always explore these issues, especially with counselors or even psychologists, who are really going to bring out and even explore more what has been happening in the past, especially in this young adult. It could be maybe family. It could be maybe there are some issues. Maybe this young adult cannot articulate well to the family members. So you find that maybe there are some stressors which maybe this young adult could be having, which they might not be able to communicate. And again, if a young adult has maybe stress, you find that there are some things that they normally do to draw attention. And you find that one of them is maybe taking alcohol or drugs, and one of them is having some change in behavior. So it's important for us to always refer to professionals who are going to really help us delve and even dig deep. What is it that this young adult is going through? Thank you so much. You're not audible. You're not audible.
There's a question that has come up again, Daktari. And here, I think people are making a comment that while working remotely for the last 10 months, I've been very productive. You get now coming back to the office, you can imagine the transition from working from home with all that convenience and coming back to the office. For us who are either in town or Upper Hill or within the sub, you realize there's a lot of traffic. Yes. And you see that one also contributes to a lot of stress that we incur. How do you manage such form of stress? Especially when I know, like, if I don't leave the office by 5, then I'm going to experience a lot of traffic. And that one has an impact on your productivity, even sometimes when you reach home. How do you manage such? How do you connect all those so that then when you reach the house? I remember you mentioned that reaching the house, I should not transfer my stress from the office to the house. Sometimes the stress is between the office and the house.
Thank you so much, Mr. David. So I think that is a very good point, and that's a very good question. So I know right now there's a lot of pressure when it comes to traffic. There's a lot of pressure with work expectations. There's a lot of pressure when it comes to even family expectations. But again, we need a lot of self-care. And part of self-care is trying to make sure that we set boundaries. And when it comes to something to do with traffic, we cannot control traffic. I know maybe we need also to look at, is it possible maybe to set an alarm? Is it possible maybe to wake up very early enough so that we can hit the traffic, so that we don't arrive maybe at our places of work already stressed, even feeling guilty that I've arrived late, and maybe even I might be maybe penalized also for coming late. So it's important for us to start organizing ourselves, because again, traffic is here to stay. And that is something beyond our control. What is within our control is how can we plan ourselves to wake up early, to make sure that at least by the time we are hitting the road, we don't get traffic, because again, you know where you stay and you know how long it takes you to get to the office. So it's important for us to always set some timelines so that at least we work in the office, we get to the office on time and also in a good mood. And something else to do with also work stress and family stress, some of the things we need to explore is how can we create boundaries, personal boundaries as part of your self-care. Because again, you find that most of us are giving what we don't have. We are trying to provide what we don't have. We don't love ourselves. We are busy loving other people. We are busy taking care of other people, but yet we are not taking care of ourselves. So as part of even part of your self-care, one of them is creating boundaries. Something I'd like to share with you about boundaries is boundaries are just like walls. A wall is there to safeguard maybe a house or even a building from trespassers or even thugs. But again, same with boundaries. Boundaries are there to take care of you, to take care of even the things that you value. So it's important for us to start in even communicating boundaries, and as part of our self-care. Something else, let's look at how can we start taking care of ourselves. As part of even your stress management, engage in physical exercise activities. It's important for us to start exercising. Let's start even watching out, what are we eating? Most of us arrive at work and what is in our stomach is maybe tea and mandazi. Question is, can that really take us enough for the next maybe 6 hours before your lunch break? So it's important for us even to look at our nutrition, which also affects our moods. It's important for us even to take time to have fun activities in the evening after work as part of your distress. So I think self-care is key. Thank you so much, Mr. David.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Talking about self-care, self-care is very, very important. I think for people to just know that we need you as an individual so that you can be able to take care of your family and also to perform better at work. Now, there's a comment from one of the participants asking us to share the presentation. We will do that based on the email address that you registered during registration. There's also a comment here, Dr. And I will read the comment. What is the best advice when your immediate boss is your main stress contributor?
What is that? Sorry?
What is the best advice you can give when your immediate boss is your main stress contributor?
Wow. That's a very challenging one. But again, we need, this, like I shared before, there's what is happening in our environment, and there's also what we are telling ourselves. Question is this boss only bad to you, or is bad to everyone? But again, there are some things which are beyond our control. Personality issues, interpersonal conflicts. We need to be aware of what is his personality and what's your personality. It's important for us to to communicate. Again, I still bounce back on communication. I still bounce back on clarifying goals. I still bounce back on prioritizing against goals, focusing on 2 to 3 things that you can maximize, and setting timelines. It's important. Again, that boss is there for work. He's not there for any other thing. So you need also to explore what is it that is making you not to be in good terms with your boss. Is it possible to have a one-on-one with him? If not possible, is it possible also to explore even with a third party where at least maybe you'll feel like maybe your views are acknowledged. So it's important for us to explore communication channels. If you feel like maybe your boss is difficult, is there a third person within the organization or your department who can help you articulate your needs or articulate your concerns to your boss? So it's important for us to explore other communication channels. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you so much. So there's also a comment here, and I will read Daktari. As a young person, a lot of challenging employment, a lot of challenges, unemployment, stigmatization, low self-esteem, failed relationship. One tends to break down and feel hopeless, especially when time flies and one feels stuck at the same position in life. Please shed some light on how to deal with such instances in life.
Yeah, right now there's a lot that people are going through. Right now, there's a lot of depression. There's a lot of stress that people are really trying to manage. There's also loss of jobs. But again, I can imagine, I'd shared before, there are people who lost jobs, but there's people who bounced back so well, and even they're wondering what were they doing in employment. I can give you a case example. I normally try to engage different people from different businesses. And well, it was just recently where I met someone who was in employment, but right now he's selling, we normally call it sausages and even boiled eggs in the streets. So I asked him that, I tried to explore with this person, would you really want to go back to employment? And he told me that the amount of money he's making per day will never allow him to even venture to employment. He told me that with that kind of small business, he makes 5,000 every day. I can imagine this business person and someone who's employed. If they went to the bank, the first person who's going to be given a priority when it comes to being given a loan is this business person. So question is, what are you telling yourself, especially when you're not employed? Are there networks that you can explore? Is there something that you can do at least that can help you achieve that greater goal that you want to achieve? How can you start small? Remember, not everyone can be in employment. There's some who are just cut for business, and there's some who are cut for employment. So ask yourself, what skills can you utilize to help you explore maybe what you can do in the here and the now? If you have maybe some small finances, what course can you do to reskill yourself to meet the market demands, especially during this pandemic? So it's important for us to look at the skills that we can explore. It's important for us even to explore the talents that you can utilize, and even the talents that you can convert to income generating activities. And again, yes, there is so much. If you feel like maybe it's overwhelming, especially maybe not getting employment, if you feel like maybe you have relationship difficulties, don't suffer alone. It's always important to reach out to a professional counselor who's going to help you even explore your talents. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you so much, Daktari. There's another question that has come through our YouTube channel.
Yes.
One of the viewers is asking, what do you mean by fun activities? You know, you mentioned about trying to see what fun activities can you do. Probably you can just elaborate.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, fun and relaxing activities, and fun activities, I do not mean taking alcohol. Taking alcohol and beer is not a hobby. Tafadhalini. Kindly look at activities and hobbies that can help you relax. I can imagine if you're taking alcohol as a hobby and you're found maybe tomorrow morning or maybe the next morning in a ditch. Would you really call that fun and relaxing activity? So it's important for us to engage in physical exercise activities. It's important for us to explore volunteering. It's important for us even to explore and even visiting children's homes, so that we can really even help the less privileged. It's important for us even to start even exploring what are the hobbies that we wrote in our CVs. I know right now in our CVs there's that part of hobbies. Maybe David, I can explore with you. What did you write as your hobbies in your CV?
Sometimes you write hobbies that you wish you would be doing. Reading.
Okay, so I think it's important for us to explore hobbies and fun activities. Fun activities, I mean physical exercise activities. Fun activities, I mean hobbies that you can engage in productively. Hobbies, I mean even relaxing activities, I mean even volunteering can be a relaxing activity, so that by the time you're done with that volunteering, you have a network on your CV. So that's what I meant with fun and relaxing activities, not taking alcohol. Kukunywa pombe is not a hobby. Kukunywa pombe is not a relaxing and fun activity. Let's get something that can really help us feel rejuvenated. Thank you so much for that question.
Yeah, another comment coming from our YouTube channel is, thanks for the presentation. How do I balance between avoiding gossip, yet we get a lot of information through these grapevine and official channels?
I think what I'd like to explore, especially with the viewer, is I'd like to mention something about your network. Your network is your net worth. Ask yourself, in your phone book, how many contacts do you have? In your Facebook page, how many contacts do you have? We have like maybe 50, 500, even some even have 1,000. Question is, how do your networks in that phone book help you progress or even have personal development? Those gossips are those things that can really help you progress. In the next 3 months, what would you like to achieve? Or is it going to be another year where you say, well, Happy New Year, 2021 is over. What do you aim to achieve in the next 3 months? And in the next 3 months, after identifying what you want to achieve, who are the people who are really going to help you achieve those goals? Again, let's reevaluate. Let's also look at our networks. How are they helping us? Are they helping us with gossip? Or can they be people who can help us progress, especially in our personal development? And again, so many organizations, small businesses have targets. I'm sure even Britam has quarterly targets, half-year targets, and even yearly targets. As a person or as an individual, what personal targets do you have for this quarter? If you cannot answer that question, then it means that the networks that you have might not be helping you as much as you'd want to. So again, let's reevaluate who our networks are and how are they helping us achieve our goals and even personal targets. Thank you so much, Mr. David.
Yeah, thank you. Another question that is coming through here through the YouTube channel, a comment here is that, how about a boss who naturally hates you and is not even concerned about the welfare of you as an employee?
I think let's not shift personal responsibility on other people. What I mentioned initially is self-care. Self-care is key. No one else can really know your needs other than you. And again, I reiterated, so many people outside here are giving what they don't have. So many people are even having expectations from other people. Don't expect your boss to love you. Don't expect your boss or even your line manager to treat you as their son or your daughter. Your boss is there for work. Your relationship with your boss is work. So when it comes to other feelings, I think just focus your energy on your deliverables, and also start managing your expectations of your boss. If you expect maybe your boss, you might want to reflect, what are your expectations of your boss? How can you manage those expectations? Because some of the stressors that we have, we expect too much from other people that we feel that life is unfair. But again, try to reevaluate. What are your expectations from your boss? Are they aligned to your goals? Are they aligned to your work goals? If your boss maybe hates you, let your boss hate you for the right reasons and not for the wrong reasons. And again, if you feel that it's personal at your place of work, I encourage you to explore communication channels. Approach him. Have a one-on-one with him. If you feel like this is something that is not practical, bring a second party on board who can help you articulate your concerns and even your observations to the boss whom you feel is maybe hating you. And again, there's some things which are just beyond our control. Personalities, those are things beyond our control. What we can control is, what are we busy telling ourselves, especially with what maybe your boss is doing to you. So thank you so much for that.
There's another question here, Daktari. Kindly ask. The job that I'm performing is not equal to the salary earnings monthly. This is to stay paying school fees, house rent, feeding, and other basic needs. So kindly prescribe a psychological statement for me to cope up with the same. This is just somebody who's in stress and he needs help.
Yes, thank you so much. And again, we encourage them just to always explore deeper. What can they do other than what can they do to supplement their income? After you've maybe left your place of work, is there something that you can engage in? And again, everyone who's employed, either way, will leave employment. But question is, how can you better prepare yourself even post retirement? How can you, what are the things or even small businesses that you can explore that can even supplement your income? What are the hobbies? What are the skills or even, let's say, talents you can explore or even convert into income generating activities? I can encourage you, and I can even tell you here that no boss will pay you enough for you to go away. You find that the salaries that we have, we are paid enough for us to come back. So don't wait for your boss or even your organization to pay you enough. It's important for you to explore, how can you multiply what you have? How can you invest that income that you have? Remember, it's not what you are paid. It's how you manage your income that really matters. Ask yourself, if you feel like maybe your income is not enough, how can you cut back on your expenses? Is it maybe your house rent that is taking a huge chunk of maybe your income? Is it maybe your lifestyle? Is it maybe supporting even relatives that is taking a huge chunk of your payment? So try to explore those avenues and look at what is it that is taking a huge percentage of your income that makes you feel that your income is not adequate. Secondly, also explore how you can start some small investment to help and even supplement your income. There are very many investment vehicles that you can explore even here at Britam, where you can sit down with an investment manager who can help you even prioritize on your personal finances. Sit down with a personal finance expert to help you explore, how can you budget to make sure that you don't live beyond your means? How can you budget to help you even invest? Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you so much, Daktari. There's another question that has come up through email And this one is, how do you cope with a narcissist spouse?
With a
narcissist spouse.
how?
Narcissist spouse.
Wow. So this is a partner who maybe has narcissistic tendencies. I think it's important. I think right now there's so many marriages and relationships which are really having a hit, especially during this pandemic. There's a lot of gender-based violence. There's a lot of intimate partner violence. It's important for us to start exploring couple counseling sessions. I might not have all maybe enough time to explore how did it start, or what is it that is bringing that those kind of feelings, especially in your marriage or your relationship. So it's important for you to reach out to a professional counselor who can really at least help you explore what is it, or even positive coping mechanisms that you can employ, especially in your marriage or your relationship. Yes, there are those marriages and maybe relationships that are having difficulties, but again, let's reach out to professional counselors who can really help us explore the challenges that we are having in our relationship and marriages. I might not have maybe enough time to help you, but you can always reach out for counseling follow-up. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you so much, Daktari. I think we are coming to an end of our session. Allow me first to just thank you and for making time to visit us. Allow me to also pass some votes of thanks to our CEO, that is Jackson Theory, for making this possible, and Dolly also for joining us to give us an introductory remark. To our entire marketing team, this would not have been possible without you. We really, really appreciate the time that you took to arrange for this. And as I wind up, Daktari, probably one of the things that the viewers will want to know is that, can you please share with them your contact? How can they reach out to you? Where are you from, and what's the location of your offices? So that then it's when somebody needs help, they can always reach out to you. But of course, we'll share the presentation
slides. So maybe if you can look at the screen, those are my personal contacts. You can reach out to me personally on those contacts, or you can reach out to me on those contacts. I'm a consultant at MediHub Healthcare Clinic. We are at Ralph Bunch Road, Elgon Court, opposite General Accident. We are at block A5, second floor. But just reach out on those contacts so that at least I can give you more details on where you can get me. So I'm very much available for counseling follow-up sessions. I'd like to encourage the viewers here that so much is happening outside there. There are a lot of stress, there are a lot of depression cases, but don't suffer alone. Help is always a phone call away. So reach out to me so that at least now we can explore what is it you can do to cope positively. Thank you so much, Mr. David, for that.
Thank you, Daktari. At least now I believe the viewers have your contacts. Another thing that I want to mention is that you can still watch this video. It's available on our YouTube channel. Feel free anything to watch. You can also share with your colleagues and friends, because something about mental wellness is that we really need to talk about it, and we need to encourage people to discuss it openly. Otherwise, allow me to thank you guys and wish you guys a nice afternoon. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.